familiar with him. He used to do coverage for us as well here at SCG Live. He's 8-1 as well. Nashville, he got 9th place. He really likes this deck, and apparently he plays it quite well.
Yeah, appears as though he is taking a mulligan right now. We had Adrian on camera for his one loss during the tournament, but there's been 8 others off camera, and Adrian's won them all.
Yeah, and his one loss is 9-0 and double drawing the top 8, Ken Ketter. Yeah. So that was the only person who was able to defeat Adrian this weekend. We'll see if Aaron can stop the Adrian Sullivan train right now as well, as it looks like, as you mentioned, Adrian is taking at least one mulligan here. Not sure how many, but we'll see. Doesn't look too thrilled with the fact that he's mulliganing.
If you look at it behind Adrian Sullivan there, you'll see Chris Van Meter, off-camera feature match.
7-1-1. Grinding his way back. We'll see if it happens. 3, 4, 5. He's on a mull to 5. All right. Let's see what he can find. All right. It looks like he's going to keep, so we're going to be underway momentarily here. Okay. Adrian gets to play an island and pass the turn back. So let's start round number 10.
Yeah. It's really interesting to me now with the density of comes into play tap lands, you can actually tell a lot about your opponent's hand based on the first land drop. When your opponent lays with a Ravnica dual land, it means they don't have a temple, or almost certainly don't have a temple. When they lead with a basic, it means they have neither. So Adrian almost certainly has a land-light hand just based on his opening land drop.
There's a Plains that's going to come into play, pass the turn. So let's see what Cook's able to draw here. He does draw Xenagos the Reveler for the turn, a little ways away from that. And just pass the turn, so no mana accelerant. If you're Adrian, you got to be happy about that. There's a 3rd land, so that's not bad either. So, of course, the critical point for blue-white control is 4 mana. That's when Jason Verdict come online and stuff of that nature. And if he's able to work his way up to 4 mana off of mulligan of 5, it's going to be happy. And the fact that Aaron's not really doing anything is great, too. Now here's a temple, which will allow him to even facilitate his next couple of draws.
Yeah,
so.
And you see this a little bit with Red Green Monsters. You know, when they don't have a mana accelerant, there's not a lot of 3-mana cards in the deck either. It's Domri and Cursor for the most part. So this deck can actually say go on some hands for the first couple turns of the game.
So Adrian kind of agonizing over his decision on what to do with this scry off the Temple of Deceit after looking at his 4 cards and trying to plan out, okay, Aaron hasn't done anything for the first 3 turns of the game, so what does he have? The answer is quite obviously monsters and planeswalkers, because that's where the deck really starts going, is at 4 mana on that side as well. So now Cook is going to play a mountain. There's the 4th land. Let's see what he wants to start off with. Tap 4, and he's going to play a Gore Clan Rampager. Let's see if Sullivan's okay with this. So I believe Adrian has a Syncopate in his hand right now. If he just wants to keep the board clear, or if he's happy with this 4/4 being in play. And the answer is he's not happy. So that's going to exile it. Important in case Scavenging Ooze does show up, which Cook has 2 of. So now there is a Temple of Silence for Sullivan. So we'll take a look at his top card. Leave that there. Just pass the turn back, it looks like. So Cook will get the chance to untap. Unfortunately for Adrian, no Jace. Jace would be really, really good on this empty board.
Yeah.
There's a Mizium Mortar's a dead draw in this matchup.
But for a 5-card hand, you know, Adrian's doing just fine right now, you know?
Yeah, he gets to play Magic, which is all you can really ask for.
He's entering the stage where cards like Elspeth and Revelations are real high-impact cards.
Yeah.
Under no pressure.
4 mana here. It's going to be a Pulakranos. Let's see if this resolves.
And these individual creatures that have no resistance, like Rampager and Pulakranos, not very good against blue-white. It's really hard for them to produce a lot of value. The Planeswalkers, on the other hand, the Storm Breath Dragons, those are very good. They have resistance to spot removal in some way or another.
Maybe a Detention Sphere or Divination here. It's going to be a Detention Sphere. Adrian just trying to trade 1 for 1. The Disperse trick. So, Disperse with Detention Sphere's effect on the stack is going to allow Adrian to get to reuse that Detention Sphere. And that's going to be exiled as well in case of Scavenging Ooze. So, Adrian loves Disperse in this deck, and it ends up being quite good here.
Back to his old tricks.
Yeah. We saw that when he played against Keter. He's able to utilize that here. You see Elvish Mystic the draw here. And Cook does not have a lot going on. This is a window for him to resolve a copy of Stormbreath Dragon if he wants to. Not sure if he has one in his hand, though.
Yeah, this would be a really good window. You know about the Detention Sphere, so adding something like Xenagos or Tomrig is fine, but you know it's not long for this world. Stormbreath Dragon might be able to go all the way.
That's 4 mana. That's a Xenagos the Reveler. Adrian gives that the thumbs up. Obviously can't stop it because he's tapped out. So Xenagos is going to start at 3. We'll probably just see a satyr come partying on over. That's what we do see. So 2-2 is going to enter the battlefield here with haste. And it looks like we're going to see Sullivan probably go down to 18 momentarily. And there it is. So Cook has first blood here, but it comes on turn is 6, which is a little bit surprising. And if you're Adrian, again, you got to be thrilled with how things are going, given that you're on a mulligan to 5. Here's a D-sphere.
Aaron also kept the Elvish Mystic left over in his hand, which I'm a little interested in. I understand wanting to play around Supreme Verdict, but it doesn't feel, it feels unlikely Adrian's going to Supreme Verdict away your board of 2-2 and mana creature at this stage of things.
I'm inclined to agree with you there. We'll see if that comes back to hurt Cook. He does draw a Domri for the turn. Again, both these players sitting at 8-1. This is pretty close to a win in it here, as there is a Xenagos God of Revels.
Aaron really measuring his threats so far. He's been very careful about playing into sweepers and trying to get it done one threat at a time.
I like the pacing.
Yeah, it's usually dangerous in my mind to play this sort of game against blue-white because you can get overpowered by Revelations. But against an opponent with a 5-card hand, I think it's more reasonable to try to pace the game this way.
Xenagos' trigger is going to go on the satyr. It's going to be attack here for 4. Sullivan's going to go down to 14, and now he's got a real problem on his hands. But Tempting Sphere is going to take care of that one. So that problem is gone, and Sullivan just has to pass the turn back. So D-Sphere showing just how good of a card that can be. Cook will untap those 5 lands and that satyr token. We'll see what he finds on his draw stuff. That's a forest. Again, Mortars, Domri, Elvish Mystic, Forest, Mystery card.
This is the spot where, I feel like Adrian really needs a 6 lane and a Revelation to really start churning ahead here.
That or an Elspeth.
Yeah.
Both will get it done. But that 6th land is going to be crucial. And Satyr token going to come and party? It is. You see Adrian giving some thought here, maybe seeing a Zori's Charm. We're going to see a Last Breath take care of that token.
And that is some pretty dangerous play from Adrian there. If Aaron had Gorkland Rampager, that's a disaster.
Yeah.
I like that better when Aaron declares attackers, but before he actually gets to attack.
Yeah. So before you can Blood Rushes, here comes Domri Red. It's going to tick up to 4. Let's see if the top card, it's not a land. Or excuse me, it's not a creature, so we don't know what it is. Chances are it is a land. Aaron can play that Elvish Mystic he's been holding for a while. He's going to do that. And again, he's got Mizzing Mortars and I think one other card over there. So again, Adrian is doing pretty good. Looks like he's drawn a Divination for the turn. And he has.
Divination's, quietly a really great draw here while nothing much is going on. Those are exactly the kind of Adrian is to start churning into some more cards.
He plays the Plains and passes the turn back. He has 6 mana. The first card he drew off the Divination was a Sphinx's Revelation. An additional copy of Domri was the draw for Cook, so that's the reason that Domri didn't reveal anything. So we're going to start by taking Domri up, try to hit a creature this time. Let's see what Cook finds. This is again.
Attention Magic players, I would just like to
So we don't really get to know the full scope of Adrian's hand here as he's playing with his hand face down a lot.
I know there's a Rev there.
Yeah.
That's all I know.
Thank you all for coming out and have a safe drive.
Not sure about the other 2 cards, but I know that there's a Rev. And this is really, really scary stuff right now, as there is a Gorkland Rampager. So that was the mystery card. And as you mentioned, really could have been a blowout with the Last Breath there. Now we see Adrian draw his card for the turn. There's a Jace in his hand now. Now keep in mind, he only has 2 blue mana right now. He's got a lot of white mana.
Yeah.
So a card like Dissolve wasn't something that he really could do, given that he was detention sphering things and stuff of that nature. So we don't know if he has a counterspell hiding out over there, but he's underneath a little more pressure now. And Cook is coming from 2 different angles with that Domri ticking up and now 2 creatures in play.
And Adrian's list is actually very white mana heavy for a blue-white control list. We typically think of these as at least playing as many islands as plains, if not more islands. Adrian's actually playing 7 plains to 5 islands. I imagine most of this is a concession to the Celestial Flares in his sideboard.
Looks like maybe Mutavault was added to Cook's hand. But again, we knew that top card wasn't a creature, so he's going to go for it again here with Domri. Let's see if he can find it this time.
Please come to the stage. Once again, Judge Gregory.
He does not. Domri 0 for 3.
Yeah. Adrian still eventually needs to answer this Domri because of the threat of the emblem,
Uh-huh.
but it has done very little so far,
Thankfully, if you're an Adrian Sullivan fan.
for sure.
So let's see what Cook wants to do here. As Domri keeps missing, it looks like he's going to come to the red zone here, so he will. Attack with the Rampager and the Mystic. Going to be an attack for 5. Sullivan, and we saw him do this against Keter, when we watched earlier, going to use his life total as a resource, going to go down to 8. There is Mutavault, and passing the turn back. This is the Sphinx's Revelation. It'll be for 3. Sullivan's going to go up to 11, but more importantly, 3 new cards. You see him set the other one there. These are the 3 for my Rev. This will be 1 for my draw. And I don't know if you caught that detention sphere that he drew, but he did find a 3rd one.
You know, if he finds a detention sphere and a Supreme Verdict here shortly, this game could be completely swung around.
Yeah.
This is talking about, the risk of playing, trying to measure your threats against blue-white. I'm not saying Aaron necessarily made a mistake here, but if you give them a lot of time when you're trying to play around Wrath, you can get overpowered by other stuff.
Mm-hmm. Looks like Sullivan picked up an island too, and you see, this it looks like a Holophon that's going to come and play untapped, so he's going to go down to 9. This is a very, very critical turn in the game.
Mm-hmm.
You can feel things starting to swing back a little bit in Adrian's favor. It looks like we're going to see a Supreme Verdict, and we are. You can really feel it starting to swing back in his favor now. He's clearing up the board. He knows he's only got to worry about a Mutavault. He knows the top card of Cook's deck isn't a creature, and Domri has missed a bunch. Temple of Abandon was the card that was drawn. That can help make sure that Domri actually does something, of course.
And by Adrian playing that Holophon on tap, it's a pretty loud declaration of Dissolve in his hand. So he's willing to let this Domri go one more turn. He knows that there is probably a land on top of Aaron's deck by Domri missing last turn. And if it's not a land, it's likely a removal spell that he doesn't care very much about. So he's, again, we saw him play earlier where he was willing to use his life as a resource and play as carefully with those counters as possible.
See Domri missing yet again. The Temple of Mana put the card to the bottom. Looks with Domri, no creature. And of course, the creature count is very high in Graded Monsters, so it's very surprising to see him miss this often as Mutavault's going to get fired up and come into the red zone. Adrian says, down to 7 I go. See if he's going to do this turn. He's just going to tap those lands. And now, again, he does have the Detention Sphere in his hand, so that Domri's not going to get to go ultimate unless Adrian wants it to, which I assume he does not. So, there is a D-Sphere. There goes the Planeswalker. There's a Plains from Adrian. Now might not be a bad time for Jace.
I mean, at this point, he has to have a pretty good sense of Aaron's hand. He's probably not sandbagging something like Stormbreath Dragon or something really high impact at this stage of things. Yep. So it's likely lands, possibly removal spells, maybe something like Flesh Blood could be hanging out there. But Adrian has to be getting a pretty good clue about what's going on in Aaron's hand at this point, as Domri has just missed so many times.
Yeah, it's a really small range of cards. You can certainly put your opponent on having another copy of Domri in their hand. And Adrian, after taking a sip of water, he says, no, not yet.
Yeah.
Not yet on the Domri. I'm not quite sure I want that to come into play.
And this is what I'm talking about here. Before you've seen Adrian be very careful with the counters. And at this point, he's, in theory, exposing himself to something like Stormbreath Dragon. But based on the way the last couple turns have gone, Adrian's just pretty confident at this point that it's not there.
Yeah. So Sullivan does dissolve that. Mutavault's going to get fired up. He's going to go down to 5. And he can comfortably untap, it looks like, knowing that nothing scary is coming. This is going to be one heck of a win if he's able to pull it off. I think that may have just drawn a Revelation. I'm not sure. That's a Jace. And let's see what he wants to do with it. He's going to tick it up. He's going to play a Mutavault. That's a big land.
Yeah, Mutavault's critical here.
Because one of the ways that Adrian can kind of lose this game involves a Gorkland Rampager on the Mutavault.
Yeah.
So that's a really, really big land here. Only has 1 blue mana available right now, so no real counter magic at this point. Let's see what Cook's going to cast. Fanatic of Xenagos.
I've not seen a lot of these in our green-red monster list, but this card was definitely fairly hyped during the previews.
Yeah, this is arguably the best tribute card, some have said. You see this right here, 3/3 trample. Whenever it enters the battlefield, if tribute wasn't paid, it gets +1/+1 and gains haste. And if it is paid, it's a 4/4.
I have to imagine Adrian's going to let this come in as a 4-4. If Adrian gets to untap with his Jace, he gets to look at so many cards. It's unlikely this Fnatic does that much damage, but Adrian doesn't really want to handle a haster at this point.
Yeah. And so it's going to come in with the tribute. So you've got a 4-4 creature there. And this is part of the reason that people don't like Punisher mechanic or the tribute mechanic, because you give your opponent an option. And the option right now for Adrian is no. You're not having haste.
I think there's generally a misunderstanding about those kind of cards that can be much better than a lot of people give them credit for, but this is definitely one of those spots where it being a Punisher card is quite bad for Aaron.
Univault's going to fire up here. It's a little bit risky. I think Adrian's just going to snap block.
Assuming he announced the Jace trigger here.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see how the ordering goes. Yep, so that's going to die because it's a 1-2. So let's see if there's a follow-up play.
I think we're going to see Mortars on that Mutavault.
Yeah, that's probably the best you're going to get with Mortars in this matchup.
It's not getting a lot better.
Yeah. All right, so Adrian exchanges resources there. He'll draw a card. He's going to go down to 3. So here's an island. That's a Temple of Deceit. That's an Azorius Charm. Azorius Charm, not bad here.
Yeah, just anything that allows Adrian more looks at cards.
Even a card like Elixir Mortality right now, not all that exciting. The fact that he would go from 5 to 10 is a really big deal. He's going to put the 2 cards to the bottom, take the Azorius Charm. He's going to play a Divination, so a little bit deeper. 1 and 2.
And that Divination, the first one, was really important in Adrian getting enough raw resources to get to this stage of the game.
Yeah.
Divination gets scoffed at a lot, and typically Blue has had better options like Think Twice to play in this sort of slot, but Sphinx's Revelation decks are a lot about just accumulating raw resources, lands and spells to defend yourself to get to the point where you can fire off a big Revelation, and Divination can bridge the gap.
Yeah, I truthfully believe that Divination is kind of the glue that holds this deck together. The Esper decks or whatever blue decks that play Divination, it just bridges the gap. Lets you get the necessary lands for Jace and everything else. As Adrian does have Supreme Verdict in his hand, I think he thought about casting it right now in this spot. But again, Supreme Verdict is kind of reserved for taking care of Stormbreath Dragon right now.
Yeah.
It doesn't get to do anything else. Here's another Fnatic of Xenagos. And this is the same situation as last turn.
I got some news for you. You're getting a 4-4.
I'm afraid I've got some bad news. And Adrian shows him Azorius Charm. And that's on purpose, I think. I think he shows him that on purpose, basically saying, I wouldn't attack because I'm Azorius Charm this, knowing full well that he has a Virgin in his hand, and he would love to catch both of these.
Yeah.
The question, of course, is where is he attacking? He is going to take down Jason. You see, Adrian doesn't use the Azorius Charm because he might want to cycle that, but he's going to choose not to here. So that was not accidental, him showing Azorius Charm. I can promise you that. And I believe Adrian does have another copy of Jason in his hand, so he doesn't mind the Fanatics going that way.
Yeah, Adrian is, we saw him earlier, just playing a really disciplined game.
Yeah. So he's going to take on down. Here's a Jace, a Last Breath, and a Sphinx's Revelation. He's so close to making it there.
I suspect someone's getting a Revelations right here.
Yeah. And he's going to scoop that up right away. He is oh so close to being able to resolve a huge Revelation and pull this game away. This might be the time that you want to cash in that verdict and just hope your opponent doesn't draw Stormbreath.
Well, if Adrian's on 5, even Stormbreath, he can survive.
Yeah. So he's going to clean up the 2 Fanatics. And this is kind of, he plays a Temple of Enlightenment to control the top card of his deck in this kind of situation where it's so much easier if he doesn't draw Stormbreath, though. Obviously, he doesn't die, but, the coast is clear if he doesn't draw Stormbreath this turn if you're Cook.
Something like back-to-back Stormbreaths really could put Adrian into something of a squeeze here. But if it's any other draw on the deck, Adrian's probably in very firm control from here.
And that looked like it was a green card, and I think Stormbreath Dragon would have come flying down if that were it. So let's see what Cook did draw this turn. Maybe a Scavenging Ooze. Yep, that's exactly what it's going to be.
Another potential big beater, but that's not what Aaron needs right now.
Yeah, it's a big beater like Suspend 1, basically. And Cook just passes the turn back. So now Adrian's going to take a look at the graveyard to see exactly what's going on over here. What you got access to, my friend? You see those a couple of creatures turn to the side from Syncopate and Last Breath. And Adrian's going to organize the creatures to the top. Of course, Adrian, no creatures in his graveyard. He's going to untap that large pile of lands. He's got an active Jace out there.
He found Elixir, which is another really important piece of the puzzle of cutting out the number of cards Aaron can find here.
Places land for the turn. That's going to be a Mutavault. Don't forget, too, Adrian very savvy by not using that Azorius Charm. So Scavenging Ooze doesn't really even play that big of a role in the situation. Hasn't even cycled it. Just been holding on to it as a Time Walk effect right now, which is super important.
I think most people are thinking to themselves, well, what I'm going to either do is use this Azorius Charm on something or I'm cycling it right away.
Yeah.
And because mana isn't that much of a constraint for Adrian, he can afford to save the Azorius Charm. If he needs to cycle and find something specific, he can probably find it if it's on the top of his deck and use it in the same turn.
Yeah.
And so why fire it off if you don't have to, if it's giving you insurance against a haste creature potentially?
Yeah, it's this funny thing where Azorius Charm is just burning a hole in your hand. I'm supposed to do something with this. Yeah. At the very worst, I can just draw a card. But that mode of putting something on top, especially against a green deck when they don't have Domri in play, it is a virtual Time Walk. So Sullivan has all the lands available right now, and here is this feels like Storm Breath to me. 3, 4, 5. Now it's obviously not lethal at this juncture.
A little late to the party, but not bad. Again, still, almost certainly the best draw that Aaron has in his deck.
But is it too little, too late? That's the question. Adrian looking at that Sphinx's Revelation. He's looking at an Elixir. I believe the other card obviously is an Azorius Charm. Those are the 3 cards that he's staring at right now. So Adrian says that's fine. And here come the attacks. So if he revs right now, 1, 2, you see him counting his mana. 4, 5, 6, 7. So this would be a Revelation for 7. It would put Adrian up to 12. Excuse me. It would be for 8. Because the Mutavault's a little farther back. So it would be for 8. It would put Adrian up to 13. And then the attack here would be for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then a Rampager would make it lethal if that card in Cook's hand is a Rampager. But I would be surprised if it were.
Yeah, Aaron spent enough time not really doing anything that last card in his hand, if you're Adrian, you would be willing to bet nearly everything that you own that it was either a land or a Visium Mortars.
Yeah.
If I'm Adrian here, I think that I like revving for all but 2 and then using your Azorius Charm on that on the ooze here, because there's just such high upside to knowing that Aaron's draw step next turn is not something you have to worry about immediately.
And you Sullivan brothers think alike. As it is going to be a rev here for 6. He's going to go up to 11. You see he's got multiple Azorius Charms in his hand right now. And so now Azorius Charm is going to go on top of the deck.
Yeah, I like this a lot from Adrian. Saves him more life than if he were revved for 2 more. You know that there's nothing relevant coming off the top of Aaron's deck next turn. Furthermore, it's just, even if he revs for more, it's likely he just ends up discarding anyway. So all these add up to a really strong argument, I think, for just going ahead and playing it this way.
Adrian very quickly turning over the top cards in his deck. Detention Sphere, Split from Temple of Enlightenment, and Mutavault. And obviously the big question here right now is, does Adrian have an answer to the Stormbreath Dragon, because it's threatening to go monstrous?
Yes.
And that will obviously end the game. Now, Adrian took 2 cards instead of 1 and put a Sphere to the bottom. He knows the top card of the deck obviously is Scavenging Ooze, so the question now is, does he have what's he got in the grip? He's going to play a Mutavault. Does he have a Verdict? He's going to fire at Mutavault and attack. He's going to Azorius Charm this. I feel like maybe he's trying to get cards out of his hand.
He might just be trying to get out of Stormbreath monsters, because he gains 2 here, he can gain 5 off the Elixir. Okay. So if he can get up to 15, that means he survives Stormbreath Dragon Monstrous, assuming he has a full hand next turn.
Okay.
Because the Monstrous plus the attack knocks Adrian to 1 if he can get up to 15.
Sure. You can definitely tell he's been in this situation before, because his pace of play is really increased, of just like, I need to get cards out of my hand right now. I know that this thing can go monstrous, and that's a problem for me, and I need to figure out what I need to do to get myself out of the situation. He can't, he could try to cast a card like Divination to try to spike a Wrath, but it's obviously, there's a huge risk associated with that.
Yeah, I sort of like playing as much as you can this turn with the intent on using mana on card drawing to find a sweeper next turn.
So there's Elixir. See Adrian doing the math here. Again, knows the top card of his opponent's deck, so nothing crazy to worry about there, but knows he needs a vert to get himself from underneath the situation. Two, three. I guess he can afford to div right now, actually. Because if he does draw a verdict, he can cast, and if not, then he's okay.
He's still discarding to 7 with the ability to activate Elixir.
I think somebody found a Supreme Verdict.
Yeah,
yes, he did. So he's going to clean everything up. He's sitting at 10. And again, he knows the Scavenging Ooze is sitting on top of the deck. So everything goes perfect here this turn for Adrian.
Somehow Adrian taps out on turn 12 or whatever it is.
Using all of the mana. And now here's the Scavenging Ooze, which he has Azorius Charm back on top last turn. And so now he's going to get to untap with all that land and a lot of options at his disposal.
So much life. I mean, he's, I believe he has an Aetherling in hand too, which is just the lock from here.
And the fact that he has to dissolve too, he's just he's checking off a lot of boxes as far as what windows are closing.
Right.
On the side for Cook of, okay, I've got a counterspell for Stormbreath Dragon. I've got Mutavaults to chump block this Ooze and everything else. And a big ground pounder doesn't matter to me when I have Aetherling. I've got Elixir to do everything. I've got Jace to tick up. He's checking off a ton of boxes, and right now he's going to play Aetherling.
Yes.
Yeah, he did. So, okay. He did animate that Mutavault and Supreme Verdict, so we're going to get that Mutavault off of the table.
Right.
Yeah.
It happened, 2.5 minutes earlier in the turn or what have you. So
the scrying is all going to take place here, but yeah, he does need to be informed that Mutavault should not be alive. So we're going to correct that game state right now. And hopefully that doesn't influence his turn at all, because there was obviously the attack with the Mutavault and then the Azorius Charm giving it lifelink, and then he found the verdict off the divination. His turn took a little while. Obviously, I don't believe there's anything malicious there, and now the board state is cleaned up.
Certainly that second Mutavault is not the last piece of the puzzle that Adrian needs here to lock this game up.
So Adrian checking everything. Okay, I've played a land, I've cast Aetherling, I've used Jace, I'm good to go.
Yeah.
So Ooze is going to remove the Stormbreath Dragon. And then pass the turn back.
Adrian with just the full command at this point.
Well, to think that this is a game where Adrian mulliganed to 5 is almost crazy.
Oh, sure.
It's almost crazy to think about that that's the game where this happened. But you see what happens when Requiem Monsters get off to a great start.
Yeah.
Where you're accelerating into something or just putting pressure on your opponent. Cook didn't do anything for the first 3 turns of the game, and then the 4th turn he played a Gorkon Rampage, and that was syncopated, so effectively he didn't do anything for the first 4 turns of the game. And now you see Sullivan is going to activate Elixir. He's going to go up to 15. He's going to shuffle all that good stuff back into his deck. The one thing he's not shuffling back in, however, is Aetherling.
Yeah, and you see, Aaron had a fair number of Planeswalkers this game, and a Xenagos. You would assume these are all the tools you need to be control decks, because they allow you to advance your board without playing further into Supreme Verdict. But if you take too long, it doesn't even matter.
Yes.
You gotta keep the pressure going.
Now you see Adrian, he's been very methodical and a little bit slower over the course of the, for the majority of this game.
Yeah.
But he understands, and you guys can see the clock in the middle at home. 22 minutes is where we're about to be headed. And this is by no means a slow matchup. Because Green-Red's going to board in more Planeswalkers and more tools to get better in this particular matchup. Adrian will probably do the same thing, but Adrian's deck doesn't win fast, obviously. And Green Monsters takes a little bit of time to get the job done as well. Mm-hmm. So time is certainly of the essence right now, because neither of these players want to draw at this point in the tournament.
Right.
Because there's no for sure guarantee that if either one of these players wins moving to 9-1, they can just draw on a top 8 next round.
Yeah, and Aaron just says, I've had enough. Yep. He knows.
And so that is going to do it. The detention spheres are picked up. You see the Domri, the Xenagos, and the Xenagos Planeswalker, the Xenagos God, that those D-spheres took care of. And Adrian Sullivan on a mull to 5, and you see some deep breaths and a sigh of relief, wins that game.
Oh, that game was a total sweat, and Adrian had to draw pretty nicely at a couple different points and really use his mana and various tricks as efficiently as possible to dig that game out. One misstep and he could have easily have died.
Yeah, and we talked about the mental part of Magic a little bit a few rounds ago, but again, it would be very easy to get frustrated on a mulligan to 5 and this is ridiculous and give up, and he soldiered on through that whole thing, where Cook really, given the matchup, he did not have a great hand,
No.
And Adrian was able to just pull together, played really tight, uses life total as a resource, and pulls that game out. So kudos to him as we move on to the sideboards here. I've got Aaron Cook's deck list in front of me, so we'll take a look at 2 Magma Jets, 2 copies of Unravel the Aether, a Mortars, a Plummet, a Chandra Pyromaster, a Xenagos the Reveler, 2 Arbor Colossus, 1 Rurik Thar, and 4 copies of Mistcutter Hydra. Plenty of options here. You like Unravel the Aether because of Detention Sphere, of course.
Yes.
So you're going to want to bring in both of those to have an answer to the problematic enchantment. Chandra I love, Xenagos I love, because you love the Planeswalker in this matchup. You love Rurik Thar, because if it resolves, it's very difficult to beat. And then 4 copies of Mistcutter Hydra, a card that I think is good in this matchup. I think it's a little bit overrated.
Yes.
Given its impact. It can certainly be very good, but I think if you're playing against a very skilled blue-white player, they know that you're boarding that in, and they can plan appropriately for that card.
Yeah, it's good in a lot of the same spots that Stormbreath Dragon is good in. Insofar as it's a haste attacker that you can't tag with Azorius Charm.
Yeah.
So it has that in common. And it's certainly better than other cards that are currently in Aaron's deck, so there's no question he's going to bring it in.
Yeah.
But I do agree with you. When you play against more skilled blue-white or Esper players, you can see Mistcutter Hydra's power level go down in those games. On the other side of the table, Adrian has a Jace, Memory Adept, a Blind Obedience, a Glare of Heresy, 4 Gainsays, a Debtor's Pulpit, 2 Celestial Flares, a Keening Apparition, a Negate, a Last Breath, a Domestication, and a Fated Retribution. I imagine that he'll be bringing in the Negate. We saw him earlier bringing in the Negate against a Planeswalker heavy deck. I like the copy of Blind Obedience, as it does very good work against cards like Mistcutter Hydra, cards like Stormbreath Dragon. I think you're going to see the 2 Celestial Flares. Again, good answers to Mistcutter Hydra and Stormbreath Dragon. And I wouldn't be surprised to see the Fated Retribution as well.
I think Fated Retribution is a card that I know Brad Nelson got very, very excited about, as did Todd Anderson when that card was printed, because you got to play this really, really fun game when you have 7 mana open. Am I going to Revelate for 4? Do I have a counter spell? Do I have a Azorius Charm? Or do I have kill all of your stuff?
Yeah.
Now, again, it's a card that you can't play a ton of copies of because it is 7 mana, but the first one is so very good. And it's so hard to play around if you're an opponent, because are you going to play around a 1 of Fated Retribution? It's really hard to do so. And the effect that it's going to have on the game is going to be massive.
And often the times that you're playing around Fated Retribution, you're allowing other cards to beat you, like Sphinx's Revelation.
Yes. That's the key. It creates this really nice tension, and it's a great tool for Blue-White to have access to, because, you know, when we were pre-born to the gods, we always talked about, man, I wish Blue-White could play Planner Cleansing. That'd be so good if it didn't kill their detention spheres and stuff like that. But now they actually have that effect, and I think it's appropriately costed. I think it'd be way too good at 6 mana, but you see it at 7 mana. It's appropriately costed. It has a very, very powerful effect, and if you can get there, the payoff is worth it.
Yeah, I think, you know, from an R&D perspective, it's one of these questions are, you know, is it really fun if this card is showing up a lot in Tournament Magic? You know, with Fated Retribution, debating between making it 6 or 7 mana, it's often better to err on the side of caution of cards like that. Because if your best deck in Type 2 is playing 4x Fated Retribution because you costed it aggressively, it's probably net unfun for most people playing in the format.
Yeah.
So you can make that effect, and at 7 is probably still a reasonable 1 or occasional 2 of for certain control decks, but you have to worry much less about it becoming a 4 of in the most popular deck.
Cook is happy. Sullivan's happy. We're underway in game number 2 here. It's going to start off what looks like an Elvish Mystic. So very important here, as Sullivan's going to play Temple of Enlightenment. He's going to take a look. He's going to put that top card at the bottom. You already see the Negate over there in Adrian's hand.
Every time a blue-white player plays a Temple of Enlightenment on turn 1 and puts it on the bottom, I think they have to say to themselves, this used to be Azorius Guildgate.
Things are so much better now. See, Cook looks like he's going to deploy a Sylvan Caryatid here. And he is. Now, this is kind of interesting because oftentimes you see Sylvan Caryatid boarded out in this matchup because it's a card that gets swept under the rug with Wrath.
Ooh, slow down!
Adrian went from Negate to Island to Plains. Go.
Oh, slow down!
To his credit, it's a beautiful Plains.
Yeah.
It is the Plains with lightning on it.
And the lightning storm in the background.
Yeah, the Plains is very, very, a lot of people like that Plains.
Yeah.
Some say it's the best one.
I know, it's from Odyssey. I know the foil versions of that card catch quite the premium.
Yeah. Here's 4 mana. This is a Mistcutter Hydra. Can't negate that one. Also can't counter that one. That's going to come in for 3. It's going to come across for 3. It's going to put Sullivan down to 16. So he'll take a draw here. Supreme Verdict looking better and better as we go. There's an island.
That would have been a good spot for Celestial Flare as well.
Yeah, it's true. And one of the things I really like about Adrian's deck, and we'll talk about this a little bit, but he's playing a lot of 1-ofs. And I feel like these are all very appropriate 1-ofs. I don't think these cards that you want in multiples, but the first one, again, is very good. And that's something we see a lot more in deck building now.
Yeah.
is we see a lot more one-ofs, and this may have stemmed from Legacy, but it really feels like this started with the Japanese. Playing one-ofs in their deck that they could draw to, that can just have a huge impact on the game. It looked really wonky back in 05 when we saw that, but now it's just being commonplace, and surprise, surprise, they were ahead of their time.
Yeah, and quite honestly, I think a lot of it also just has to do with Magic being a slightly different game. Constructed decks used to be so linear and so homogenous that it was all about doing your powerful thing or stopping your opponent from doing their powerful thing. And now the format is much more about, well, there's a lot of different things that could potentially be going on, and it gives a lot more value to having one-ups in your deck. Decks are just a lot less linear than they used to be.
Here's a Domri after combat. Let's see if Adrian wants this to resolve or not. We know he has Negate in his hand, and he's going to use Negate right now. So the Planeswalker's not going to resolve it. We're going to see if he's going to untap a Verdict here. Because the Verdict would be great.
The speed with which he's untapping, I had to believe it.
Huh? Maybe not. I was with you.
Yeah, I thought that was such a fast untap that I was thinking, it's there.
But just to tap Hollow Fountain passing the turn back. Maybe he's trying to catch one more card in here. Who knows?
That is some greedy action.
Greed is good, Patrick.
A 3-for-1 where you get 2 of their mana creatures isn't enough for you. It feels like enough for me. I don't know.
You see a Rampager here. And this is interesting too because Adrian had the option to use Dissolve on that Domri, but he chose to use Negate instead. And he could have maximized his mana. Now he's at 4. And Mutavault's really scary back there.
Yeah, now Wrath is less attractive than it once was, certainly.
Is he going to put some more threats onto the board? What do we have here? It's a Fanatic Xenagos. That's worth countering.
I was going to say, I imagine if that one resolved, it would have gotten haste.
Yeah. Let's take a draw. Does he have a Verdict? No. All right. I didn't think Cook's hand was great this game, but he is slogging along here.
Yeah, Adrian hasn't done much of note, so that helps a lot.
5 mana. Here is Xenagos, God of Revels.
Even Celestial Flare on most of these turns would have been incredible.
Yeah, it would have been great.
Yeah.
And of course, it is just a one-of in his sideboard, but it would have been great.
No, he's got 2.
Oh, he's 2? I'm sorry. So here's the trigger. Here's the attack. Wow. That's it.
That was weird.
That is not how I thought that game was going to go at all.
Yeah.
But Aaron Cook is going to win this game, and I'm sure he might be thinking, that was strange.
That was weird.
You didn't really do anything.
After the beatdown, you put me on your 5-card hand last game?
Yeah.
Have all 4 detention spheres over the course of the game, and, verdict me multiple times, and now this?
You keep 7, you scry the top card to the bottom. What were you looking for?
Yeah, what was going on?
Either way, Cook does tie it up. Now Sullivan's going to be on the play. You see the clock right there. We're about 13 minutes. We'll probably start this one about 12 minutes.
Yeah.
When it's all said and done here with the shuffling. Neither player going back to the drawing board, so they're happy with their configurations.
And this is where the experience of that Adrian's had playing this particular deck is really critical. When you're playing control decks and you're looking at 12 minutes on the clock and how you're going to win this game, and a lot of it just comes down to, can you make the decisions in 5 seconds that usually takes people 10 seconds?
Yeah.
Can you play that efficiently? If Adrian can do it, he can definitely win in 12 minutes, but if he's slow with his ops, then he might draw a game he would otherwise win.
They'll shake hands before a very important game 3. Adrian, a very, very good sportsman, as is Aaron. We'll be underway here in just a moment. He says he's going to keep. We'll start with the Temple of Silence. Top card goes to the bottom, passing it back. Has Aaron drawn a card yet?
Back up, you got to draw a step, Aaron.
Yep. There we go. So there's a Stomping Ground, and now there's an Elvish Mystic. So a good start here for the Green and Monster player. Adrian just going to play an island. He's going to pass the turn back.
The mana accelerator is so critical, as we've noted so many times.
Fanatic and Xenagos to draw here for Cook.
Someone might get a 4/4.
One way or another. So now, Stomping Ground going to come into play untapped. Let's see what this is. This is the Domri. That's getting negated.
Great turn for Adrian.
Oh, yeah.
It's just the times where you can pass through turns 2 and 3 and 4 with nothing really bad happening are all big victories for blue-white.
Hollow Fountain, untap, pass the turn back, so he's repping a Dissolve here. And he does have Divination in his hand that he could have cast, so this is a very loud statement that I have a Dissolve.
Yeah.
3 mana. There's a Fanatic. He says, I don't think so.
He was willing to counter that. Probably no Supreme Verdict just yet.
Yeah. Just exchanging resources right now.
Yeah, this definitely favors Adrian over the long term with his various power cards and Sphinx's Revelation.
There's Temple of Abandon for Cook, so he's going to get the Scry.
This might be one of those spots where Adrian gets to perhaps resolve Jace, Architect, a Thought on an empty board.
Tick it up.
Yeah.
That's obviously a very good turn as he quickly untaps. Let's see what this is going to be. Yeah, this looks like Jace. Yep. 2 and 3. And the thought process here is that if you're going to kill my Jace, you're going to have to do it with a Rampager.
Yeah, or a Stormbreath Dragon I can't play around really. Like,
yeah. And so I actually like the minusing here quite a bit. You see the split here is the lands versus Dissolve. And again, if Cook's turn is attack your Jace, Rampager it, like, you love that because you got your value.
Yeah. More card advantage, frees up the other Jace in your hand. It's just a battle against time for Adrian here. He just needs to get out of these couple turns with nothing too bad happening, and then he gets a pretty enormous edge.
2 lands are going to go to the bottom, Dissolve going to go to the grip. Sullivan will pass the turn back. We're under 10 minutes right now as Cook is going to take a draw. Warclan Rampager number 2. Looks like he's a little choked on mana right now. Not sure if he has another land. Let's see what this is. This is him just deploying a Mistcutter Hydra, so that's a really nice turn.
Yeah. It's pretty good for Cook here.
Yeah. He's going to come across here. He's going to take care of Jace. So a really, really good turn of events here. He's going to play another copy of Temple of Abandon. He'll scry. You see Cook's hand right now. You see those 2 Gorkline Rampagers. The other card looks like a mystery. Not quite sure what that one is, so we won't guess as we take a draw. There's an Attention Sphere. Not going to help right now. You have to assume that Sullivan has mana. 2, 3. Well, he's got some now.
Yeah. And Adrian playing so fast right now. There's no put my Jace into play and fill with my die a little bit. He knows going into the turn what he's planning on doing.
Big question here on what he wants to take. He put 2 lands on the bottom last time.
Yeah.
And took the Dissolve. Now there's 2 lands again, and there's Revelation. And the big question here is, does he have lands?
I believe he has a Hallowed Fountain left in his hand.
He's got a Divination and a Detention Sphere over there as well.
I had to imagine he just needs mana at this point.
Feels like it. You never want to put Revelation on the bottom, obviously.
And you're getting a Mute Evolve. It's not like you're getting just pure mana. You
Yeah.
also get a card with some utility.
So he's going to take lands. He's going to put Rev to the bottom. Looks like he's going to play Hollow Fountain. His Temple of Enlightenment, even better.
Yeah.
He's going to take a look with the Scry. That's going to go on the bottom. He'll pass the turn back knowing that Jace is likely going to die. So let's see what Cook draws here. It's an Elvish Mystic, one of the lower impact cards right now. What is this? This is a Xenagos? Stormbreath. It's good.
Aaron really throwing caution to win here about a potential Supreme Verdict.
He just doesn't think Adrian has it, it looks like. So it looks like Mistcutter's going to go over. Mistcutter's going to take care of the Jace. Stormbreath will take care of 4 life from Adrian. Sullivan going to go down to 14. He'll take a draw. That's a Plains. He's under the gun now. There's a Divination. 1, 2. Jace among cards that he's drawn. 7. With the double Rampager in Cook's hand, if he goes for it, it's lethal. Now there is Mutavault. I haven't changed some things here. So the attack here is for 7. Plus the 2 Rampagers, 8. That's 15. So if he gets in with the Mystic too, that would probably it. Well, we'll see if he does that, of course. But
Again, these are risky plays,
they're
but
very risky.
But the other thing is that at this point, the way that you play the game, do you give yourself another option if you're Aaron? He can't really beat Supreme Verdict from this spot anyway, or it's very hard to imagine. So
Adrian says no blocks. Here's a Rampager, and that's a Rampager.
that's exact 14. We need Celestial Flare or
I don't think
something.
He has it. I don't think he has it. He could have blocked with Mutavault, but I understand not wanting to do that. You see Adrian looking at the life pad. And that is
This-
it.
wow.
Aaron Cook is going to win this match over Adrian Sullivan. He moves on to 9-1. Green Red Monsters gets it done over Blue White Control. And after Adrian won an incredible game 1 on a mulligan to 5, not able to get it done in game 2 or game 3.